you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 6 months ago, we raised the case of an Edmonton area doctor who was convicted of sexually assaulting a patient at a Sherwood Park clinic in June 2013. He also assaulted a nurse at Northside Edmonton Clinic. He also assaulted a clinic manager. The tribunal report said proven conduct was serious and repugnant for a member of the medical profession. Until this morning, this government thought that a mere 5-year suspension would be good enough. To the Premier, why?
The Honourable Minister of Health and Deputy Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Women in all Albertans should feel safe when receiving medical care. We've been clear about that for a number of months, and I want to thank the member from Strathcona Sherwood Park for her advocacy on this particular issue. That's why our government introduced legislation to ensure better protections for patients from sexual abuse and sexual misconduct, more transparency on the disciplinary histories and criminal convictions of health providers, and why we were matched until this morning for the strictest in Canada. But we're thinking it's time to take that even further, Mr. Speaker. We've worked with survivors and the agencies that support them, and they've asked us to do that, and we're proud to do so.
First supplemental.
Thank you to the Minister for listening to the opposition. 5 years is not a long time. Dr. Ismail Taher sexually assaulted an 18-year-old female patient in a Sherwood Park clinic in 2013, violating the sacred doctor-patient trust. If he received a 5-year restriction on practicing back in 2013, he'd actually already be practicing right now today in 2018. Again, to the Premier, why did your government this week repeatedly stand against making a lifetime ban from practicing for doctors and is now only starting to backpedal?
The Honourable Minister.
I want to thank members from both sides of this chamber for their passion on this debate and this important topic. Let me make it clear, my intention is to proceed with preventing any physician found guilty of sexual offence as defined under the Criminal Code of Canada from being reinstated, to prevent that from happening, to prevent anyone who has conducted sexual assault, to prevent them from being able to practice again in this province, and to give the colleges the strictest legislation of any jurisdiction across Canada to ensure safety for patients and all Albertans, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud of our record.
Second supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, the minister's record is voting 3 times against extending the ban on predatory doctors. We welcome the government has finally come around to doing the right thing, but just the other day the Minister of Health said, and she wanted to, quote, ensure that everyone can have the confidence that health practitioners are being dealt with in a strict and fair way. That being said, that's why I will be opposing the amendment, end quote. To the Premier, why did the government spend days arguing that 5 years is a good enough ban for doctors who sexually assault patients?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, I want to say that Albertans' vision for this law is the strictest in the country, and we will show just how serious our government stands in support of women's rights and the rights of survivors when they've been assaulted, Mr. Speaker. It's important to us that we continue to show just how we stand with survivors. That's why we increased funding for women's shelters by $15 million to help more than 17,000 women and 14,000 children flee violence. That's why we passed legislation so that survivors of domestic violence can break a lease without financial penalty. And that's why we will improve access to the legal system for survivors of domestic violence by removing the 2-year time limit, bringing forward civil claims, Mr. Speaker. Our record's clear and I'm proud of it.